All right, so if you're tuned in, you've probably caught wind of the buzz around a new AI model. It's generating incredible amount of power, and, well, it comes with an equally incredible price tag.
Hmm.
We're talking about Grok 4 Heavy, xAI's latest offering. Comes in at a pretty substantial $300 per month. This isn't just another AI model. It really feels like it signals a new scale of ambition.
Exactly. And for this deep dive, you've given us some fascinating sources to dig into, particularly an engineer's insightful breakdown. It's titled Grok 4 Heavy, a 300-pound test of faith by Azmat, published right after the July 9th, 2025 launch event.
Right.
And it's worth noting, the article uses pounds, but the subscription itself is actually priced at $300 US.
Good clarification. Yeah. So our mission today really is to unpack why. Why did xAI feel compelled to build what's essentially a 200,000 GPU monster? What does Grok 4 Heavy actually do that, its predecessor, Grok 4, can't? And maybe touch on how Elon Musk's grand vision, this idea of climbing the Kardashev-scale,
Yeah.
which is all about civilizational energy use, how that might just trickle down and impact your daily workflow.
Yeah.
So get ready, because we're going on a bit of a tour. Starts with these huge compute mega projects and kind of ends up with a cost per answer spreadsheet.
Okay, so let's clear the naming fog first. Grok 4 versus Grok 4 Heavy. It's really crucial to understand that both models, they actually sit on the same foundational AI model. They share the same, core intelligence.
Oh, that's surprising. So if they share the same core, what's the actual breakthrough then? Is it just, throwing more compute at it? Or is there some kind of fundamental architectural difference that makes Heavy so much more powerful?
Well, it's not just more compute in the usual sense. It's more about how that compute gets used. The key distinction is that Grok 4 Heavy spawns a miniature think tank on every prompt. That's the phrase the source used.
A think tank.
Yeah. So while Grok 4 processes a prompt with, a single intelligent agent, Grok 4 Heavy uses 8 to 10 agents all working together.
Wow, a miniature think tank. That's quite a visual. So tell us about this internal process. What are these agents actually doing behind the scenes?
It's pretty fascinating, actually. When you give it a prompt, these multiple agents, they brainstorm in parallel. They sort of debate with each other, merge their findings, their answers, and then they deliver this, synthesized final response.
Right.
Musk himself calls it study group mode,
Yeah.
which is pretty descriptive.
Yeah.
And internally, the engineers apparently call it test time parallel compute.
Okay. And when you look at the raw specs, both models have that huge 256K token context window, right? Meaning they can handle, what, around 256,000 words in one go?
Yeah, massive.
And they both use the same tools, Python for code, Xsearch, and general web search. So the main difference, like we said, is that price. Grok 4, Super Grok, that's $30 a month. Super Grok Heavy jumps way up to $300 a month.
Yeah.
It really boils down to understanding what you're paying that extra amount for when you choose Heavy.
And what's truly foundational to all of this power, the thing enabling it, is something monumental.
Yeah.
The Colossus Megadatacenter.
Colossus.
Not just, a server farm. It's described as the hardware legend underpinning the whole Grok family.
Right. And when you hear Elon Musk say, we were told it would take 24 months to build, we did it in 4, I mean, it almost sounds like hyperbole, doesn't it?
It really does.
But digging into the details, that rapid build time, it's genuinely astounding. 122 days to first light, getting the first machines running, and then just 92 more days to double capacity. What does that speed tell us about xAI's strategy and, the whole compute landscape?
Well, it tells us they're just utterly, maybe maniacally focused on speed and scale.
Yeah.
They clearly see compute as the absolute bottleneck to developing AGI.
Right.
I mean, Colossus 2025.
Right.
The specs are just mind-boggling. 200,000 GPUs, specifically those high-end NVIDIA H100s.
The best ones out there.
Yeah. And 194 petabytes per second of memory bandwidth. That's like an unbelievably wide information highway. 3.6 terabits per second network per server over an exabyte of storage. I mean, everything about Colossus breaks records.
Yeah.
Lead time, scale-up pace, sheer bandwidth.
Wow.
There's even that rumor about custom Tesla coolant loops because apparently off-the-shelf stuff just couldn't handle the heat.
No kidding.
Yeah. And the machine exists and it consumes so much power, it's like powering a small city.
Yeah.
It really underscores the immense scale and, frankly, the cost of doing this kind of cutting-edge AI work.
So, okay, beyond the just impressive numbers, what does this sheer scale actually mean for, for you, the listener, and for AI development generally?
Well, this scale matters because Colossus lets xAI train using reinforcement learning, where the AI learns by trial and error, getting rewards for good moves.
Right, like training a dog almost.
Kinda, yeah. But they can do it at pre-training scale. This lets them refine Grok's reasoning on much harder, much more complex problems and for longer periods while, apparently, staying under budget.
Huh.
It's about achieving this unprecedented efficiency in how they develop the AI.
And the timeline for this thing is just as aggressive. Groundbreaking in May 2024. By August 2024, the first 100,000 H100s were in, cooled, and already training Grok 3 reasoning by November 24.
Incredible pace.
Then another 50,000 GPUs by February 2025, when Grok 4 pre-training started. And boom, Grok 4 Heavy is out to the public in July 2025.
And the vision doesn't stop there. Their roadmap aims for 1 million GPUs by late 2026.
A million GPUs.
Yeah. If they hit that, Colossus would be the first civilian cluster with exascale floating point throughput dedicated just to AI. And this connects right back to Musk's broader, kind of crazy ambitious vision when he says, we're maybe at 1% of Kardashev with thirst. Let's push that dial.
Right. Kardashev-scale being a civilization that can use all its planet's energy. So it's about pushing humanity's tech potential on this grand scale.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk performance then, because that's where, the rubber meets the road. What does all this incredible infrastructure actually translate to in terms of results?
Well, the test results, they seem to confirm that Grok 4 Heavy leads across the board, especially on tasks that, as the source puts it, punish sloppy multi-step reasoning. It's not just about knowing stuff. It's about how well it can actually think through complex problems step by step.
And the numbers certainly seem to back that up. On humanity's last exam for text, that benchmark designed to really push AI reasoning limits, Grok 4 Heavy with tool scored, 50.7% compared to Grok 4 at 38.6%, and then Gemini 2.5 Pro at 26.9%, Claude Opus 4 at 24.9%. That's a big gap.
It is.
For ARC AGI V2, focused on abstract reasoning, Grok 4 Heavy hit 15.9%, while Grok 4 was 11.2%. Again, Gemini 6.5%, Claude 4.9%. Similar story with USAMO 2025 proofs for math proofs.
Yeah.
Heavy at 61.9%, standard Grok 4 at 49.4%, Gemini 34.5%, Claude 21.7%.
Yeah, the pattern's pretty consistent.
Even on LiveCode Bench for coding, Grok 4 Heavy just edges out standard Grok 4, 79.4% to 79.3%, but still well ahead of Gemini and Claude. It definitely looks like it's in a different league for those really complex multi-step challenges.
These benchmarks are compelling, yeah.
Yeah.
But what does that performance actually look like in, say, a real-world scenario?
Oh, yeah.
That black hole prompt test replication from the source.
Yeah.
That's a really compelling example.
Oh, this one blew me away. The original demo prompt was, let me get this right, verbatim. Generate a beautiful 30-second soft grid animation in HTML visualizing gravitational waves from 2 colliding black holes, including ring down. Maximize physical accuracy and sanity check the trajectories in a single-page, self-contained HTML.
Okay, quite a specific request.
Very specific. And here's what happened. Grok 4, the standard $30 model, it produced working code, which is pretty good, but it apparently mislabeled a constant and used some kind of arbitrary fade-out curve. So, not bad, but not exactly scientifically perfect.
Right. Functional but flawed.
Exactly.
Right.
In contrast, Grok 4 Heavy, get this, it read a 52-page LIGO white paper. Wow.
Okay. LIGO, the Gravitational Wave Observatory, it extracted these complex physics formulas, the post-Newtonian coefficients that describe gravity effects, cited its derivation, annotated every function in the code it wrote, and the final animation looked almost identical to the demo clip.
That's incredible.
And my favorite part, an astrophysicist friend I showed this to, he just kind of chuckled and said, good enough for first-year grad homework. I mean, think about that.
Right.
A task that would take a human grad student days, maybe weeks, done by the AI in 8 seconds of inference time. Well, that's genuinely humbling, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And these examples, they really demonstrate that tangible difference in advanced reasoning and accuracy that Grok 4 Heavy offers. It's not just doing more, it's doing it with this deeper, more sophisticated level of understanding, especially with scientific stuff.
So given those really impressive results, the magic, it seems, has to be in this study group mode. But how does that actually work under the hood? What's the process that lets it pull off these kinds of insights? Okay, so it all starts when you send a prompt to Heavy. A coordinator then spins up N subagents. N defaults to 8, usually.
Correct.
And what's really fascinating is that each subagent gets the original prompt, but also a unique temperament string.
Okay.
So one might be told to be like cautious, another bold, one might focus on math, another on web search.
Oh, interesting. So they're like different personality types tackling the same problem from different angles.
Precisely. They then think in isolation for a set amount of time, each developing its own approach, its own rationale.
Right.
After that sort of individual thinking time, they publish their rationales to a shared digital scratchpad, like a common whiteboard. Then a referee agent scores these rationales based on, internal consistency, external evidence from the tools they used.
Okay, so it judges the quality of each agent's argument.
Exactly. And finally, a synthesized, refined answer is stitched together from the best parts of their individual contributions, and that's what gets returned to you.
So effectively, you're paying for those extra tokens during steps 3 through 6. All that internal brainstorming and debating and refining, that's the secret sauce behind the benchmark jump.
That seems to be the idea. As Musk put it, a study group of 10 reasoning engines beats a lonely genius every time. It's that parallel, kind of collaborative thought process that really seems to make the difference.
Which brings us right back to that $300 question. When does this investment actually make financial sense for someone?
Yeah, the source is pretty clear on this. Basically, if a single insight from Grok 4 Heavy can save you, say, a day of specialist labor, a lawyer, an engineer, or a scientist, then the tier pretty much pays for itself right there.
Right.
Also, the API cost, if you're not on the full subscription, is around 6 cents per thousand tokens. So that suggests you could potentially use it more flexibly, only for the really hard problems.
Okay. And if we look at the break-even scenarios by use case, it becomes even clearer. Like for a quant fund doing parameter sweeps, where maybe a correct answer is worth $10,000, just 5 queries a month makes Heavy a definite yes for break-even.
Makes sense. High-value answers, yeah.
Or a patent lawyer doing prior art search, maybe $5,000 value per answer, 10 queries a month, easily justified. But then, for a solo dev prototyping code snippets, maybe $500 value per insight, 50 queries a month. That's more of a maybe.
Borderline.
Right. And for just casual blogging or homework help, value per answer is basically 0. So even 100 queries a month, it's a definite no. You just don't need that kind of power.
And the case study trio really drives this home with concrete examples. There's one about biolab automation.
Yeah.
A startup used Grok 4 Heavy to parse 4 million CRISPR off-target logs. That's, gene editing data about unintended changes. Heavy suggested 5 guide RNA tweaks in just 10 minutes. They followed up in the wet lab, found 3 hits with low off-target risk, and estimated it saved them 2 months of work.
2 months. Wow. Okay, that's a huge ROI on $300 a month.
Absolutely. Then there's algorithmic trading. A quant fund fed 8 years of options chain data into Heavy mode. It found these volatility surface anomalies, proposed hedges, and backtests showed it boosted their Sharpe ratio by 0.2.
Which, for anyone in finance, a 0.2 Sharpe boost is significant. Better risk-adjusted returns. Even if only half of that works in live markets, it easily covers the cost.
Totally. And the last one, legal discovery. A patent firm used Heavy on an 80-gigabyte USPTO dump that's a massive database of U.S. patent documents. It cross-linked claims to prior art, provided justifications, and 2 associates reported cutting their billable review hours in half.
Having billable hours, yeah, lawyers will definitely pay attention to that. These examples really show the potential real-world ROI and help you figure out if it makes sense for your specific professional needs.
Exactly.
So, okay, let's say you're intrigued. You're thinking about moving from just being curious to actually using Grok in production. Let's talk practical workflow, maybe some prompt engineering tips specifically for Heavy mode.
Okay, first tip. Don't be afraid to write long, structured prompts. Use sections, bullet points. These Heavy agents can actually digest complex instructions really well, so lean into that.
Good point. Feed the think tank properly.
Yeah. And if auditability matters, if you need to know why it gave an answer, always ask for the rationales. That sub-agent scratchpad where they do their internal debating, that's apparently gold for debugging and understand the process.
Makes sense.
You can also specify tool preferences. Like tell it, if live data lookup is cheaper than running a Python simulation, prefer the lookup. Guide its resource use.
Smart, control the costs.
And on that note, you can throttle runtime by capping the thought time. 5 seconds of reasoning is often enough for many tasks, and it helps keep those token costs down if you're using the API.
All right, practical tips. Now, what about a sort of lightweight playbook for actually integrating Grok?
Okay, the source lays out a nice 4-step process. Step 1, the free test. Just get a basic Tier X AI account, spend an afternoon playing with the chat interface, using real prompts from your own work, not just generic stuff. Score the responses, accuracy, clarity, speed. If it can't beat a decent search engine here, just stop. You've lost nothing but a bit of time.
Right, baseline check.
Step 2, the API prototype. If it passes the free test, Allocate a small budget, say $5 that gets you around 80,000 tokens. Wrap Grok's API around a meaningful problem you actually have, maybe normalizing product titles or extracting clauses from contracts. Log everything. Latency, token spend, error rate. Then share a quick demo. If nobody seems to care after a day, well, you have your answer for that specific problem.
Okay, so test a real application cheaply.
Exactly. Then step 3, the Super Grok subscription. If the prototype shows promise, nominate someone on your team as the Grok champion. Get them a 30-day, 30-month Super Grok plan. Now, you can use the bigger context window for end-to-end workflows, really fine-tune your prompts, build in some retry logic for errors, and crucially track the person-hours saved. If it's not saving at least, say, 3 hours of skilled work per week, the ROI probably isn't there yet. Revert back.
Be honest about the savings. Makes sense.
And finally, step 4, the heavy upgrade. Only pull the trigger on the $300 tier when 2 specific flags are green. 1, you have a high-value pain point where a wrong answer costs you at least $1,000 or maybe a day of senior developer time.
So high stakes.
High stakes. And 2, you've done the math and it looks like positive break-even, meaning each solved query using heavy should recover at least 10 times its marginal cost. Pilot in one specific business unit first. Set a clear decision day at the end of the month. If you get a spectacular win, great, renew. Otherwise, drop back down to Super Grok or lower.
That's a very disciplined approach. Pilot, measure, decide.
Yeah. And as a final sanity check, the advice is keep logging every request, review your usage weekly, set budget alerts. Treat heavy mode like a special tool for those really tough problems. The source calls them weekend boss fights.
Huh. I like that. Use the right tool for the job and be smart about the cost.
Exactly.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit and address some practical concerns. Security and compliance, for instance, that's always huge for businesses.
Right. So XAI offers something called Grok for Government. This version runs inside FedRAMP cages. These are basically ultra-secure, compliant data centers needed for U.S. government work. It strips out live web search to prevent data leaks, logs every tool call. A defense contractor apparently reported the performance is just as good as the public Grok 4 Heavy, but without the risk of sensitive queries getting out.
That's crucial for regulated industries.
Absolutely. And it also boasts full SOC2, Type 2, GDPR, and CCPA certification, so it meets all those strict data security and privacy standards, which basically means fewer headaches and fewer meetings with nervous, risk-averse lawyers for big companies.
Always a plus. Now, what about the Reddit controversy? There was that viral post about Grok 4 Heavy returning Hitler content. That caused quite a stir.
Yeah, it did. And it wasn't just some random glitch, it really highlighted a fundamental challenge here. When you build AI that's capable of, like, civilization-scale problem solving, it also inherits the potential for civilization-scale missteps if the ethical guardrails don't keep up with the raw compute power.
So what actually happened in that instance?
Well, according to the source, the user specifically asked for maximal truth mode and also requested edgy historical jokes. The model then apparently pulled context from some Mecha Hitler meme that was circulating on X at the time.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. The safety guardrails, which were presumably designed to allow for unfiltered honesty when the user explicitly asked for it, well, they allowed it because the user did ask for maximal truth and edgy content.
So the user kind of steered it there, but the guardrails didn't stop it.
It's exactly. XAI's patch afterwards involved tightening the filters specifically in heavy mode, clamping down on tool search queries related to extremist content, and limiting how much it directly echoes raw search snippets. But it forces that difficult question: who's ultimately responsible for the truth? And AI decides to seek out and share.
A tricky question indeed. Okay, shifting to the competition landscape. Grok 4 Heavy is impressive, but how does it really stack up against the other heavyweights? GPT-4o, Claude Opus 4, Google's Gemini Deep Research.
Oh, they're all incredibly powerful models, obviously. But Grok 4 Heavy seems to have a distinct edge in a couple of areas. First, those parallel agents, the study group mode that seems unique. And second, their ability to do reinforcement learning at pre-training scale. That appears to give it a significant advantage for deep, complex reasoning.
Okay.
It also uniquely offers an open tool API, which makes it easier for developers to integrate it into other things. And it has public price transparency, know exactly what it costs, which isn't always the case with some competitors, especially their top-tier research models.
Right. And the benchmark numbers we discussed earlier seem to confirm that lead, at least for now. That ARC-AGI score of 15.9% for Heavy, that's noticeably ahead of the estimated 12% for GPT-4o, 8.6% for Claude Opus 4, and 6.5% for Gemini Deep Research.
Yeah, the benchmarks definitely put heavy out front today, but the caveat is always that rivals iterate incredibly fast in this space. That gap probably won't last forever. The AI race is definitely always on.
Absolutely. Which brings us to maybe the most crucial point, the ethical horizon. We can't really ignore the big picture implications here, can we?
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, if Colossus really scales to 1 million GPUs and Grok keeps evolving every year, by, say, 2027, you might have a reasoning engine that could potentially design something incredibly complex, like a small batch fusion reactor.
Mm.
Or, on the flip side, maybe an airborne pathogen. That's the kind of power we're talking about.
That's sobering.
It is. Now, xAI's team insists their goal is maximal truth-seeking. That's their stated mission.
And while maximal truth sounds noble, it could potentially include dangerous information, right? Stuff many people probably shouldn't have access to.
Precisely. xAI has proposed solutions, apparently.
Hmm.
Things like fine-grained access controls, role-based prompts so different users get different capabilities, enterprise redaction layers to automatically strip sensitive info, hardware-isolated tool calls. Those are supposedly coming.
Hmm.
But the warning from the source is clear. Grok 4 Heavy represents immense power, and power always attracts both builders and breakers. This is definitely not a trivial concern.
No, not at all. Okay, so looking ahead then, what's next? What does the roadmap, maybe roadmap B7 and beyond, tell us about where Grok and Colossus are headed?
Well, a few interesting things are on the horizon, it seems. First, a vision overhaul. Grok 4, as impressive as it is described as partially blind when it comes to understanding images and video.
Right, it's primarily text-based now.
Yes, exactly. So, version 7 training will apparently include a massive video corpus, use higher resolution patching techniques, promising a big leap in multimodal performance. So it should get much better at understanding and maybe even generating video content.
That would be a huge upgrade, yeah. Especially for tasks involving visual data analysis or creation.
Totally.
Yeah.
They're also apparently rewriting that inner agent chatter, the communication between the study group members, into a compressed binary protocol. The goal is to cut the token overhead by about 30%.
Ah, so more reasoning power for less cost, essentially.
Well, that seems to be the idea. And then there's the really exciting prospect of one-click robotics integration.
Robotics.
Yeah. The source paints this picture of Grok chatting directly with a Tesla Optimus robot, sending it YAML plans. Those are configuration files for robots and software in real time. Apparently, an internal demo already shows Optimus walking around and sorting custom Lego bricks based on Grok's instructions.
Wow. Okay, that starts to feel very sci-fi. Real-time AI control of physical robots.
It does. And these items, the vision overhaul, the optimized heavy mode, the robotics integration, they're projected to land within the next 12 months, assuming their aggressive roadmaps hold up. That could definitely tilt the market again.
Absolutely. So to kind of bring it all back for you, the listener, Grok 4 Heavy, it's less like just a piece of software, isn't it? It's more like having a junior research department on call.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Something that can pull sources, write runnable code, cross-check itself, and deliver these answers that are designed to actually withstand expert scrutiny.
And I know that $300 gate, as the source called it, it feels steep. But maybe the parallel to the first Tesla Roadster is fair. You know, the early adopters, the ones willing to invest in the absolute cutting edge, they're the ones who fuel the next iteration, who push the innovation forward for everyone else down the line.
It's often how these things work, yeah. So our recommendation summary, boiling it down, is basically this. If your job really hinges on discovering those crucial needles in data haystacks, if you're tackling high-stakes, super complex problems where one single insight could save huge amounts of time or prevent really costly errors, then yeah, you should definitely consider the heavy tier. The value proposition could be there for you.
Right. But if you mainly need, pithy tweets, basic research summaries, maybe some essay outlines, the $30 Super Grok plan is probably absolutely sufficient and will serve you just fine.
Definitely.
Either way, it feels like we should all keep Colossus on our radar. That cluster is growing, the agents are multiplying, and as Musk said, his climb to Kardashev, I just got its first real push.
Yeah. And he closed his comments by saying, study group mode is not the end. We are only at 1% of planetary potential. Let's see how far curiosity can take us.
It's a truly provocative thought to end on, isn't it? What will this kind of just unprecedented computational power actually mean for the nature of work itself? And how is it going to reshape that balance between human expertise and machine intelligence in the years ahead? Something to definitely mull over as we wrap up this deep dive.